guys, welcome back to my channel and thank you for stopping by here on my channel. Today's tutorial I'm going to be teaching you how to draft a monostrap top. Okay, so I will be working with back 16 inches, half length 15 inches, bust 38 inches and waist 38 inches. So these are the measurement I'll be working with. Okay, kindly subscribe to my channel if you are here too, and hit the button down there to get to an update as I'll be uploading my videos. Okay, so I have 16 inches and I drew my starting line. I have 16 inches for the back measurement divided into 2. I'm dividing 16 inches into 2, so this gives me 8 inches and I'm marking this 8 inches. So I'm coming down 0.5 for the shoulder slanting. So the neck width, I'm going to use 3.5 for my neck width. And I will be marking 3.5. Okay. And then what we are going to do, we are going to connect the shoulder slope to the neck width. And this is what I'm doing. Okay. So I'm going to connect the dots together. And from the shoulder slope, I'm going to mark the armhole line. Okay, so from my shoulder slope, I'm marking my armhole line. So the armhole line I will be using for today's tutorial is 8.5. And if you want to determine your accurate armhole, you can divide your bust circumference by 6 and add 1.5 to 8. So this will give you accurate armhole. Okay, bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 will give you accurate armhole. So this is what I did here, and it's very perfect. Okay, so I'll be marking 8.5. So like I said, the waist underbust is 13.5. So the half length is 15 inches. The bust point is 10 inches. So that is the measurement from the shoulder to the bust point to your nipple. Okay, so this is 10 inches. So from the shoulder to the nipple, I have 10 inches for today's tutorial. So the underbust is 13.5 and the half length is 15 inches. But I'm going to add some inches for joining allowance. Okay, so I'll be adding like 1.5, or you can add your desired measurements. So this is what I'm doing here. Okay guys, I want to mark the armhole line from the shoulder slope to the point of 8.5 I got. Okay, and I'm going to connect the dots together. So I already drew the lines, the bust line, underbust, waistline, the allowance and the upper chest. So what I'm going to do now is to find the midpoint of the armhole line. You know, we got 8.5, so we are dividing this 8.5 into 2. So this is 4 1/4, and from the point of this 4 1/4, I'm coming out 0.5 to curve the armhole. So I'm placing my ruler to do this. So I'm going to curve it on the point of 0.5. I hope you saw this. Okay. So on the point of 0.5, I curved the armhole. So I have 8 inches. Then I'm going to add 1 inch to it, making 9 inches divided into 2. So this is going to give me 4.5. So I will be placing this 4.5 on the bust point, my underbust. I'm going to mark 4.5, and on my waistline I'm marking 4.5, and I will extend this dot to the allowance. Okay, so I'm going to connect the dots together like so. And then I marked 0.5 from the bust line. Okay, so I want to connect the dot of the midpoint together, and from this midpoint I'm going to mark another 0.5, and I'm going to mark it this way. So I want to take, I'm using 2.5 for the dart. So I'll be taking 1 inch from the center front and 1.5 at the other edge. Okay, so this is what I want to do. So I will start the marking from the allowance, line to the waistline, my underbust, and I'm going to take this 1.5 from the underbust to my waistline and to the allowance 1.5. Okay, so I will connect the dots I made together. So this is what we are going to have after connecting the points together. So what I'm trying to do is to just blend the sharp edges. As you can see, that side is very sharp, so I'm using my curve ruler to blend it together so that it will not too sharp. Okay, so what we are going to do now is to connect this 0.5 to the bust line. So I'm using my ruler to do this, and you can make dots to connect together. I hope you saw this. So this 0.5, you are marking it out because we are creating another armor. Since we borrowed 0.5, so we are going to replace it with another armor. So this is what I'm doing here. So we are creating another armor. So I'm going to connect it to that one, and then place my ruler to curve the new armor. So the one we had before is of no use. Okay, so I want to curve it right here. I hope you saw this. So, and then I'm going to take 0.5 from the both side of the line I made, and you could choose to take 1 inch from one side. So I want to take 0.5. So I want to take 0.5 from the both sides this way. Okay, so I'm going to do the side seam. I'm placing the quarter of bust or measurement, and then I'm going to add 1 inch and joining allowance. Okay, so what we are getting from your upper chest, you are marking it on the bust line. Okay, so here on my underbust, I'm placing the quarter of my round underbust, and then 2.5 inches we took for that, I'm going to replace it, and then I will add my seam allowance or joining allowance, whatever you are calling it. Okay, so this is my waistline, quarter of my waistline. I'm placing it this way, and I'm going to include 2.5 for that, and then the seam allowance, and I will extend what I'm getting on the waistline to the allowance line, and then I'm connecting together. So this is what I'm marking here. So having done this, I'm going to look for the depth of my neck. So I chose 4 inches for the depth of my neck, and I'm going to mark it. I'm going to square it this way. Okay. So if you want wide neck, just leave it this way. If you don't want wide neck, just place your ruler on that corner this way and mark like so, and then place your tape measure and measure whatever you are getting and divide it by 3. So what you are getting, you just mark what you are getting and place your curve ruler to curve on that point that you have marked. Okay, that is the measurement you got from the division. So we are not going to cut anything here. We are not going to mark because we are cutting monostrap. Okay, so we are not placing any 1.5 because this place I have about 5.5, so it should give me 1.9 or roughly like 2 sharp. So we are not going to cut it. So I've just, this is the back bodice of the pattern. So we have 8.5 for the armhole, and we are marking 4 1/4 like front panel. Okay, so these are 4 1/4. So I'm going to mark the shoulder slanting 0.5. So 4 1/4. Okay, and I'm going to curve it with my curve ruler. So this is back panel. We are not marking any 0.5 or 1 inch at the back of the line. So the bust line, I'm marking 4.5. You know, we are working with 4.5 for the bust span. So 4.5 from the bust line, and then on the waistline I will mark 4.5, and I'm going to extend this dot to the allowance. Then I'm going to place my ruler to square it. So this is my zip allowance. So I want to connect the dots together. I hope you saw this. So I'm going up 1 inch. So I marked 1 inch, and I'm going to connect this dot to the bust point. You know, this back panel. So I'm going to make a dot to the bust point from the midpoint of the armhole line. So this is what I am doing here. Okay, so the neck width is still remain the same. So the depth will be 1.5 here. This is back panel, 1 inch, and I'm going to square it. Okay. So I'll take 1/4 inch from the both sides of the line, and then I will take here also, and I will connect it. I will blend it to the bust line. So this is what I'm doing. So the bust measurement, the quarter of my bust measurement, so this is what I'm placing here, the quarter of my bust measurement, and then I'm going to add my sewing allowance. So here on my waistline, I will put the quarter of my waistline. I'm going to add 1 inch because I'm going to take that 1 inch and then joining allowance, and I'm going to extend it to the allowance line. So I'm taking 0.5 from the both sides, and then I will connect it to the bust line. So I'm marking 0.5 from the both sides, and I've connected it to the bust line. Okay, so this is what I'm doing here. So I folded the zipper allowance at the back. Okay, I hope you saw this. So I'm going to cut right here. I'll be cutting. So before I cut, I want to name this pattern. So this is right side, and I will do the same thing to the front panel. So right side is facing the table. So I'm going to write my right side on the front panel as well. So the wrong side of the both front and back panel are facing each other. You know what I did? I notched the the back, the zipper allowance, and I notched my central front because they must align. Whenever you are placing them together, the center front and the zip allowance must be aligned together. So wrong side will face each other like so, and make sure they are aligned. Okay, make sure they are aligned before you cut it. As you can see, I notched both front and back panel, and they are aligned. So what I'm going to do now is to so I'm marking the wideness of the neck, you know, on that point I notched. So this is the off shoulder of the top we are making. Okay, so I want to choose 4.5 here, and you can go lower than this depending on how you want it. So if you want to add sleeve to it, so you can use 5 inches or 4.5. But if you are not adding sleeve to yours, you can go lower than 5 inches. You can do like 6 inches or 7 inches since you are not adding sleeve to it. But I'm adding sleeve to this, so I marked 4.5. So here on the central front, so I'm going to be marking 4.5. So you can decide to go lower than this, like I said. So 4.5 is good for the cleanse. Sorry, it's good for today's tutorial. It's not for cleanse. So it's good for today's tutorial 4.5, and you can go lower than that depending on how low you want it. Okay, so here I'm marking 4.5, and I'm going to connect to the other side this way. I hope you saw this. And then I'm taking it to the shoulder. I'm taking this to the shoulder. Okay, now I'm good to cut. Make sure they are aligned very well before you cut it. Okay, I told you you can go lower than this at that side, and at the central front you can go lower than 4.5, can do 6 inches, can do 5 inches, depending on how you want it, how low you want your neck to be. Okay, so you can decide on your own. Now I'm going to cut. I'm cutting what I marked. So I want to be sure, maybe they are aligned very well before I cut, so that I will not get into trouble, because this is monostrap. So you have to be very careful before you cut it. Alright guys, I've cut it, I've cut the neck. So this is how it's going to look like. So I'm separating front from the back. So this is the front panel. I'm going to cut. Make sure you cut on the line you made, and don't bypass the line you made. Okay, so this is what I'm doing here. I'm cutting on the line I made. So I'll be cutting the back panel. So this is front panel, and here is the back panel. Slash. So I'm going to cut the dart before I cut the zipper allowance. So this is what I'm cutting here. I hope you saw this. I used 0.5 for the dart from the both sides. So this is what I used. Okay. So this is front panel. This is the front panel. I hope you like this. So I will go ahead and label this 1, 2, and 3. So that whenever I want to sew it, I don't want this pattern to mixed up. That's why I'm labeling it 1, 2, 3. And I will go ahead and label back panel 4, 5, 6. This is the back panel, and I still have my zipper allowance intact, so I knocked it. So this notching is very, very important, or marking that will guide you to put the material or fabric together. So now I'm going to place this pattern paper on my fabric and cut out, and then I will come and show you. Okay, this is what I have. So I placed the pattern paper on the fabric and I cut. Okay, so I added 0.5. I hope you saw this. Make sure you add 0.5 so that you won't be short of fabric. Add 0.5 for quarter and inch for allowance when you are cutting directly on your fabric. Okay, when you are using your paper or material, please make sure you add 0.5 or quarter an inch and then I notch every part so that it's going to guide me whenever I want to sew it. So far so good, we have come to the end of today's tutorial. Thank you for watching. Like this video, share with your family and friends. Bye.